Sean "Diddy" Combs is currently in federal prison. He has been behind bars since September 2024, first in Brooklyn, now at the low-security Fort Dix Federal Correctional Facility in New Jersey. His scheduled release date, according to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, is April 15, 2028. But here is what most coverage is not telling you clearly enough. Being in prison and being finished with the legal system are two very different things. And right now, in April 2026, Sean Combs is fighting on multiple legal fronts simultaneously. His lawyers were in a federal appeals court just 6 days ago. More than 20 civil lawsuits remain active. And the judges handling his appeal have raised questions that legal analysts are calling some of the most complex seen in a federal criminal case in years. This is the full picture. Let's get into it. To understand where this case stands today, you need to understand exactly what happened at trial. Sean Combs was arrested in September 2024 and faced 3 primary categories of federal charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, the last charge falling under the Federal Mann Act. The trial began May 5, 2025, in the Federal District Court in Lower Manhattan before Judge Arun Subramanian. It lasted 7 weeks. Prosecutors painted a detailed picture of what they called a criminal enterprise, one that used power, violence, and fear. The centerpiece of their case was testimony from Combs' former long-term partner, Cassandra "Cassie" Ventura, who described years of physical abuse. A second woman, identified only as Jane, offered similar testimony. The now infamous 2016 hotel surveillance video, showing Combs physically attacking Ventura in a hallway, was also presented to the jury. The jury deliberated and returned a split verdict. On the most serious charges, racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking, Sean Combs was acquitted. On 2 lesser counts of transportation to engage in prostitution under the Mann Act, he was convicted. In October 2025, Judge Subramanian sentenced him to 50 months in federal prison, 4 years and 2 months, along with a $500,000 fine, which is the maximum possible under that conviction. That sentence fell significantly below what prosecutors had asked for, 135 months, but far above the time served that Combs' defense team had requested. And it is that sentence, specifically how Judge Subramanian arrived at it, that became the foundation of the appeal we are covering today. On April 9, 2026, Sean Combs' defense team appeared before a 3-judge panel of the 2nd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan. Combs himself was not present. His sister Keisha attended, along with family members and close friends. The hearing lasted more than 2 hours, and the arguments raised were legally significant enough that one judge on the panel called this an exceptionally difficult case, raising legal complexities that have not been previously addressed in U.S. federal court in this form. So, what is the actual legal argument? Combs' defense attorney, Alexander Shapiro, made 2 central arguments. Argument 1. The sentence was based on conduct the jury rejected. The defense argued that Judge Subramanian, in calculating the 50-month sentence, considered evidence tied to the sex trafficking and racketeering charges the jury had acquitted Combs of. Shapiro argued that punishing someone based on conduct a jury specifically decided did not rise to the level of a crime is a fundamental violation of due process. Her exact framing to the court was direct. She urged the appellate judges to reduce the sentence to ensure that, in her words, not guilty really means not guilty. Argument 2. First Amendment protection. Combs' lawyers also argued in written briefs that his recordings of Zool encounters, which prosecutors referred to as freak-offs, constituted a form of expressive conduct protected under the First Amendment. Prosecutors rejected this argument firmly. They argued in response that accepting that logic would mean brothels could claim First Amendment protection by making their services sufficiently theatrical or artistic. Now, here is what made the April 9th hearing genuinely significant. The 3 judges on the panel were not unified. Judge M. Miller Baker raised pointed questions from both directions. On one hand, he asked prosecutors whether the judge had thrown too heavy a book at Combs given that the jury did not find he coerced anyone. He called the Mann Act counts, the actual charges of conviction, a sideshow, given that the prosecution had built its entire case around racketeering and sex trafficking. But he also challenged the defense, noting that 2 women had been plied with drugs to participate in the freak-offs, and asking whether that reality didn't support the reasonableness of the sentence. Judge William Nardini questioned whether the court should simply take the trial judge at his word, noting that Subramanian had stated on record that he would have issued the same sentence even if his guidelines calculations were incorrect. The 3-judge panel reserved their ruling. They did not issue a decision on April 9th, which is standard. No timeline has been set for when that ruling will come. What the defense team has asked for, in order of preference, a full acquittal, his immediate release from prison, or a direction to the trial judge to reduce the sentence. What happens next with this appeal is, as of today, unknown. While the legal proceedings continue outside, Combs is serving a sentence at FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey, a low-security federal facility. According to reports, he is participating in the Residential Drug Abuse Program, commonly referred to as RDAP. This is a structured rehabilitation program within the federal prison system that, upon successful completion, can qualify a prisoner for a reduction in their sentence under federal guidelines. His current scheduled release date is April 15, 2028. If the RDAP program is completed successfully, that date could move earlier. If the appeals court rules in his favor on the sentencing argument, it could also change significantly. If the appeals court rules against him entirely, he serves the full term, minus standard good behavior credits. The criminal case is only part of the legal picture. More than 20 civil lawsuits against Sean Combs remain active. Some have been dismissed in part, not on their merits, but on technical legal grounds. 2 of the most significant are still moving forward. Case 1. Don Richard. Don Richard is a singer and former member of both Donity Kane and the group Diddy Dirty Money, both of which were assembled and managed by Combs. Her federal lawsuit alleges S. Zool battery, S. Zool harassment, and false imprisonment, with most of her claims stemming from her time working with Combs between 2006 and 2009. Her complaint describes a work environment where she and her bandmates were, in her legal team's framing, deprived of basic needs including adequate food and sleep, subjected to regular humiliation, and required to remain at Combs' various residences and studios for extended periods without meaningful freedom of movement. In February 2026, a Los Angeles Superior Court judge allowed key claims in her case, including S. Zool battery and false imprisonment, to proceed to trial. That case is moving forward. Case 2. Rodney Lil Rod Jones. Lil Rod is a music producer who worked with Combs on his Grammy-nominated Love album between 2022 and 2023. His lawsuit, originally a 73-page filing seeking $30 million, alleged S. Zool assault, trafficking, grooming, and racketeering. In March 2025, a federal judge dismissed the RICO racketeering claims and the breach of contract portion of the lawsuit, ruling that Jones had not sufficiently connected the alleged criminal enterprise to the specific financial harm he claimed. However, and this is the important detail, the S.Zool assault and S.X trafficking claims were not dismissed. That portion of Lil Rod's case is still active and moving forward toward potential trial. Combined, these 2 cases, along with more than a dozen others at various stages, mean that Sean Combs will be facing civil litigation for years beyond his scheduled prison release, regardless of what the appeals court decides. The financial implications are significant. Before his arrest in September 2024, Forbes estimated his net worth at approximately $1 billion. Brand partnerships have since evaporated. His Ciroc vodka deal with Diageo was terminated. His fashion label Sean John had already been sold. His music catalog, while still valuable, is subject to ongoing legal claims. The financial dismantling of the empire he spent decades building is, by any measure, already underway. Here is the summary of where things stand as of April 15, 2026. Sean Combs is in federal prison at Fort Dix, New Jersey. His release date is set for April 2028, though that could change based on the RDAP program or the outcome of his appeal. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals panel heard 2 hours of arguments on April 9th. They did not rule. Their decision, when it comes, could result in acquittal, immediate release, a reduced sentence, or a full upholding of the current conviction and term. More than 20 civil lawsuits remain active. Dawn Richards' case is proceeding toward trial. Lil Rod's Zool assault claims are also still active. Multiple other plaintiffs remain in the system. What makes this case significant beyond the name attached to it is the legal question at its center. Can a judge sentence someone more harshly for conduct a jury has already decided does not constitute a crime? That is the question the Second Circuit is now answering. And legal analysts have noted that the answer, whatever it is, will have implications beyond this case. It will affect how federal sentencing works for defendants across the country. The Diddy story is not over. It is, in several meaningful ways, just entering its next chapter. This channel will be covering the appeal ruling when it comes, and the civil trial developments as they unfold. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe. When the Second Circuit issues its ruling, I will cover exactly what it means and what happens next. And I want to hear from you. Do you think the appeals court will reduce his sentence? Or does the conviction stand as is? Drop your take in the comments. I read all of them.